Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, French candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And this week we are going to start off with a bit of news because it turns out we did the last episode too soon.
No!
Look, we didn't miss much. So the last episode, for those y'all in here for the first time, was about most of the 41 people who are going to be running for the California recall if Gavin Newsom gets recalled. So that number is now up to 46. And only really one prominent person got through. And lucky for me, he doesn't really have a lot of policy, so there's not really anything to cover. So I'll just say a dude named Larry Elder, who is is going to be running as a Republican. He's probably one of the bigger name people, at least outside of California, because he has his own radio show. He describes himself as a lowercase L libertarian, so kind of unique there. But the weird thing is that he does have one endorsement from Paul Gosar, the white nationalist congressman.
Oh no,
which is very
L Larry.
Well, it's very weird because Larry Elder is absolutely a man of color. So
oh no,
I don't know what the hell's going on here. If Paul Gosar's just like, he's a libertarian, I guess I gotta support him.
It's 2021. Dogs are cats, black is white, up is down.
Yeah, it's white nationalism is taking on a very interesting new turn.
Realizing they need to broaden their outreach.
Yeah, well, I was looking into the Huntington Beach City Council race that's going on right now, which should be no thing, and eventually we'll probably do a whole episode on it. But Huntington Beach is the Trumpiest of Trump towns in Orange County.
Yeah.
And just this last year, they elected Tito Ortiz, a championship MMA fighter, to the city council, who also served a 3-month term as mayor of Huntington Beach, which is they take turns with it. And apparently he was so terrible at it and got dunked on by the regular press so much that he just resigned.
Wait, I think you mentioned this guy before.
Potentially.
Because he was just like, y'all are being mean. I'm going. Bye.
Which is funny for an MMA person to say. But as of right now, they're looking at a possible replacement. I forget her name. Like I said, we'll talk about this maybe in the future. But she is essentially a Latina white supremacist. It's just so weird how it works because she has been to multiple anti-Semitic events, many events against critical race theory or any sort of discussion of race in general. Apparently in 2018, OC Weekly voted her as one of the 20 scary people of Orange County.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it's looking like she might end up on the Huntington Beach City Council. So there's a great article about it on the Daily Beast. I'd highly recommend checking it out.
It just goes to show you that, like gender, whiteness is a social construct.
God damn it. Look, if anything, whiteness is a very strange disease that is now moving into other realms. It's so strange. It goes beyond my knowledge of the topic of white supremacy, and I definitely need to read some more books on it, just because my brain right now is very much Appalachia Dusty. How the fuck does this happen?
Right. Yeah. I think for a lot of Irish immigrants, the lodestar was always a WASP patrician whiteness. And so it's just the sense of do you look good in Madras? Well, then come aboard. You'll never actually be accepted, but you can at least wear the Madras.
Oh my God. Well, ideally, this is something that we'll learn more about in the future and we can talk about. But aside from that, also in California recall news, a new poll came out today showing that Gavin Newsom is within 3 percentage points of potentially being recalled.
That's too close for comfort.
It is. Now, it's amongst likely voters. When the poll was done with people who are absolutely registered to vote, the margin is a lot wider. So... people might register to vote in due time and end up making that happen, but it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, this is why you gotta take it always seriously. But you know what? We're not talking about that today. We've been spending too much time in the present, and the present, I don't know if you know this, kind of depressing.
It sucks.
So we're going back in time.
Yay!
A time in which chaos reigned, but it wasn't, depending on who you were, it wasn't the complete worst.
A year ago?
Oh, God damn it. No, we're going to be going back to the 1910s. And the 1920s. We're going way back. It's been a while since we've been this far back in time, and I am so jazzed to get to it.
I see what you did there. We're in the 20s.
I didn't even mean to. Here we are.
Get your laudanum and your radiation, kids.
Oh my God, I would love some laudanum. So returning back to the 1910s, 1920s, and very specifically, we're talking about the Communist Party of the United States today.
Yay! Wait, which one?
That's you know what? You teed me up so well for that.
Yes.
Because so many Lutherans before them, socialist movements have splintered into many, many segments due to the most intense and the most simple of disagreements.
Yep.
And so if we're going to be talking about the Communist Party of America, we kind of have to talk about the really weird self-loathing family tree that created it.
Yes.
Which means we're going to Europe.
Yay! Yay!
So we got to start off with the International Workingmen's Association, which was founded in 1864 in London, England. The group was founded as a way for socialists to be able to spread their ideologies across international borders and support the working class in their various struggles. And the group agreed to keep their headquarters in London, and it took pretty much no time at all for everyone to start fighting with each other after this one decision was made. So it's going to be a bit of a theme, but there is a long history in socialist left movements, and it's how do you spread the ideology in the most thorough way possible. And with this initial group, the IWA, there were two factions that immediately got created. One was led by Mikhail Bakunin, a Russian anarchist that believed that the abolition of governments was the quickest way to be able to spread their ideology, and that they should be replaced with equal ownership of the means of production and collective communal protection. So communal anarchism is something that is still heavily considered nowadays as something that's, in some instances, it's actually worked pretty well. Kurdistan, in a sense, has operated as a communal anarchist sort of society for a bit, since they're technically not allowed to form a government.
Right. Or country.
So exactly, yeah. So for them, it's a way that they've been able to act as their own governance while other people either won't allow them or are too busy within their own wars to stop them. So yeah, on that side you have Mikhail Bakunin, and on the other side you have a relatively unknown journalist by the name of Karl Marx. And Karl's whole thing is, communism. We got to do a communism. We can't get rid of the government because where would communism go?
Yeah, because maybe we want to be part of government.
Yeah, exactly. Look, government already exists. If you get rid of it, people are going to lose their goddamn minds. Like cats are going to get jobs. It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
So these factions would fight amongst each other and jockey for control during the entire life of the International, which would lead to its end in 1876, as both groups just went and made their own clubs. This is a theme that will never stop. But 4 years before the First International would fall apart, they made a push to establish a socialist movement in America, and did so by moving their headquarters from London to New York City. Now, at this point, the International was in really bad shape, and couldn't do much to get America all jazzed on socialism. It would take 2 years before the first party would be founded, and this would be the Social Democratic Party of North America. The party was founded by a cigar maker and a carpenter, and did fuck and all. Eventually, they just fell into obscurity, didn't really run that many races, just had a bunch of ideas, then went away. The real deal, though, would drop in 1876, when the American International finally got their shit together. And this was after 4 years of two factions fighting over the best way to succeed in American politics.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they just kept having meetings over and over. We got to get everyone in here. We got to listen to everyone. And eventually everyone's going to agree on what we're going to do because we're socialists. And clearly we're good at compromise.
Is corporate America really actually communism with the meeting? And instead of just unyielding, we've been blue skied to death?
Oh, yeah. I think if anything, if I were a shithead, I would probably say corporations have been taken over by socialism. And you could actually make that argument by saying that this blue sky thinking and lack of compromise is indicative of socialism. Or at least the movements that have attempted to control socialism in the country. So for 4 years, they were fighting over, all right, how do we get Americans to like socialism? On one hand, you have a group of people who say, hey, what we need to do is we need to put in the work, grind it out, and win some fucking elections. And if we can get some people elected, then we can get ideas placed into government and eventually work on getting those ideas passed into law. And then on the other side, you have a group of folks who are like, no, that idea is bullshit. You're bullshit. What we should do is we should go into the trade unions and spread our ideas there amongst the people, because if the people like our ideas, then those ideas will naturally come to fruition.
Why didn't they just do both?
Well, here's the funny thing. I don't know. That's a great question. And I feel like if you'd have asked that, they would have kicked you the fuck out.
Yes.
I had a...
Burn her for a witch!
What are you? Get the fuck out of here, you fucking Biden Democrat. Kick you in the heart. But yeah, I had an interesting Twitter discussion tangentially to this, where a person I was talking to was very strongly of the opinion that trying to win elections is a no-sum victory, with the idea that if you're trying to get elected, you have to compromise your ideals to win election. And so the only way to keep the purity of the party and the purity of the ideals the same as it's always been, the only goal is to try to push policy in the public sector.
I mean, I guess, but why are you running for office in the first place?
That's a great question. Yeah, you should just start an advocacy group or a think tank or something.
Well, yeah, I hear the money's great there.
Oh, God damn it. But the thing is that there is a very strong example of this actually working. If you look at the Green Party and Howie Hawkins invented the Green New Deal, and that dude's lost 21 elections. He's never going to run anything. But after 30 years, the Green New Deal is finally something that is in the national landscape. Now, granted, it's gone a little further to the right than what Howie wrote, because people got to compromise in some ways, but it's still there.
Yeah.
So you either put in 30 years of work to get an idea to go forward, and even then the public could change what they like about it, or you could really just grind, try to keep people elected, and hope for the best. Or you could say, why don't we do both? And then they tar and feather you and lead you out into the street. But yeah, so eventually they decided in 1876, all right, we're going to start a political party and we're going to try to win elections. That's the plan going forward. Everyone else, are you cool? You're scowling. I'm going to take that as you saying you're cool. All right, we're doing this. And so they would meet up in Philadelphia and agreed to disband the First International entirely. So the International Working Men's Association is dead. It's gone forever. And they create the Working Men's Party of the United States. And now this party would last for about 2 years, which, if you're keeping track, is half the time it took them to finish debating on how they were going to run their party and what they were going to do.
This is my nightmare.
But this is also because the group decided it was time for a rebrand.
How? You haven't done anything!
Una, people don't know about us because, our name's not catchy enough. The Working Men's Association Party. No one's going to want to vote for that. It's too long. You gotta punch. You gotta hit. You gotta, I don't know, get a bear on a tricycle. Something. So it's in 1878, they decide to completely rebrand and call themselves the Socialist Labor Party, which honestly is kind of an improvement. At least, you know what you're voting for and you know what they stand for in 2 words.
No, absolutely. Great marketing. But I will interject here to say that there is a maxim of sorts, a maxim of sorts in the improv community where the longer it takes your team to come up with a name, the shorter that team will live.
Oh my God. That is both cruel and hilarious. It sounds incredibly accurate. Yeah, if you're already arguing for a few weeks about what you're going to be named, I don't think it's going to be very easy to decide on sketches or leading the group.
Nope. Not a whole lot of yes-anding there if you keep shouting down the name that you all chose.
So they rebrand the party, and that very year, they actually started winning elections, predominantly in Chicago, Illinois.
Hey!
So in Chicago, they ended up electing a state senator, a state representative, and got 4 people elected as city aldermen.
Ooh.
Which, look, they are a party that is technically 3 years old. That is fucking gangbusters.
That's great turnout.
And this is happening during a time in which you could kind of create a new party, and you had a decent chance of actually getting people elected. And then in 1879, the Socialist Labor Party would nominate former Republican and Dr. Ernest Schmidt for mayor of Chicago. And while he wouldn't win, he would encourage voter turnout for the party that got another 3 socialists on the city council, totaling up to 7. And Schmidt would end up finishing third with 20% of the vote. And for all their hard work, they had also won the right to be called spoilers in the mayoral race and were accused of aiding unproven voter fraud. So yay, nothing ever changes.
I was wondering when the hog barons would appear in the chat, and it sounds like they just did.
Yeah, it's really interesting, that race. I think we might talk about it eventually, but the 1879 election was the first time in a while that Chicago elected a Democrat to be their mayor. And the dude at one point in his life carried around a bald eagle with him just while campaigning.
Oh my God. Wait, a live one?
Yeah, a live bald eagle. Just here's my bald eagle, vote for me for mayor.
Oh no, that's very what's-his-face bear energy.
Oh yeah, and he ended up serving 5 terms as mayor of Chicago.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, so either way, the Socialist Labor Party would have a decent chunk of modest success. But then in 1890, the party got into a whole new schism. It's this year that the party came under the control of a dude by the name of Daniel De Leon. Now, I'm sure one day that we're going to do a whole episode on the Socialist Labor Party because there's so much more going on right now and we're just kind of hitting the crib notes. But Daniel De Leon is originally from Curacao, but he moved to New York City in 1872 when he went to go study at Columbia University. And in the late 1880s, he became a Marxist, and in 1890, he joined the Socialist Labor Party, and pretty much immediately took everything over. Apparently, the dude was as charismatic as he was unwilling to change his opinion or like anyone who thought differently than him.
Oh, so he's perfect for this.
Oh yeah, he's ready to kick everyone out of the fucking party to save the party that's already doing well.
Yeah, he is godfather, too, of political ambition.
Well, and the thing is, the party, after all this time, is still fighting about how to actually progress the party. While the party is winning elections in Chicago, they're still like, look, guys, elections are bullshit. We gotta fucking go to the trade unions. Stop running for office. Change public opinion. It's the only fucking way.
It's like the figure speech of, when you're doing something difficult for the first time, it gets described as building a plane midair. This is like, no, the plane's completed.
Yeah.
We're seeing how fast we can drive it into the ground.
Look, have you guys tried flying without wings? I know it's a crazy idea. I know we're flying really good right now, but I think we'd go faster without wings.
How about
in one direction?
How about we set it on fire?
Have we considered turning the plane into a car? But yeah, it's 100% blue sky thinking that's just constantly fucking with this. Like,
no.
they have found something that goddamn clearly works, and there are still people who are too fucking stubborn to admit they were wrong. But lucky for them, Daniel De Leon 100% believed that elections were bullshit, and that what they need to be doing is essentially inspiring a revolution.
Oh,
and so De Leon's whole thing is he wanted to just completely take out capitalism, knock it out all in one fell swoop, install a Marxist sort of government that, I mean, you could debate whether or not a Marxist government is more socialist than communist. I'm not the guy to do it. I don't have a history background in that. But yeah, what he wants is just pure Marxism and what would eventually become known as De Leonism.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're leading a socialist movement, at some point you have to write your own unique set of rules.
Yeah, he got his own ism. I mean, we have Trotskyism, Leninism, De Leonism.
And probably one of the more fucked up things, and the thing that really ruined the Socialist Labor Party, is that while Daniel De Leon was kicking out literally anyone and everyone who disagreed with him, he also had a theory, and bear with me on this, Una, fuck unions.
Because what do you need unions for if you're going to just have a revolution? Is
100%.
That
According to his thinking, trade unions only continue the allowance of capitalism. And no matter what you accomplish in a trade union, it's still going to keep the worker from the means of production because you're constantly still fighting for better pay and better work when what you should be doing is just seizing.
My thing with, because I know De Leon is not... He's not the only person to think like burn it to the ground, revolution, yeah. And it's like it's where I always get like a red flag coming up of just like, okay, so you obviously have no women in your party. Like you may not have spoken to a woman in years as well, because if you talk to any of them, they're just like, I just want shit to work. I would just like to have some rights, please. I can has
in 1899. No,
yeah, burn it. But then also it's like what always gets me is just like it's like talking to people who truly believe the rapture is real, and so they're stocking up on it. It's like, right, but like then what's day one post-revolution?
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think the only people who know part 2 of the plan are the people who are like, well, I'm in charge now, so only I need to know part 2.
Yeah,
like Premier De Leon knows what the fuck's gonna happen next, and everyone else doesn't need to know about that because we're all gonna be farming.
De Leon definitely has some like pre-Stalinist vibe, like Stalinist light vibes.
Yeah, well, yeah, and whenever I also hear is like, oh, we're just gonna do a revolution, it's just like, do you just want to stab a guy? Is that your goal here, man? Like, because yeah, peaceful revolutions have happened in the past. They are not the common ones, and typically even after the peaceful revolution, there are still sectors of the group you were fighting against who are like, about that, I have an addendum, and these guns are my footnotes. Yeah, so we'll definitely be diving into Dan De Leon at some point in the future. The dude has a long fucking history, but he ends up taking over the party in 1890, and it would take a full 9 years before an actual split occurred. So in 1899, the Socialist Party of America would begin its works to form. They would take about 2 years, mostly consolidating other socialist parties that weren't doing super great, and in 1901 became an official party. And for a while, the Socialist Labor Party and the Socialist Party of America went toe-to-toe. Things were pretty close between them. But before long, the Socialist Party of America went on to succeed in all the ways the Socialist Labor Party never had a chance of doing, especially with De Leon as the head. And once again, we'll definitely be getting into a deeper history on this, but some of the highlights of the Socialist Party of America, they elected 2 congressmen, dozens of state representatives, and about 100 mayors, their most notable being the mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut. So by the end of the 1910s, the Socialist Labor Party was pretty much a shell of its former self. But despite all their success, the Socialist Party was also at the end of their reign as well. And this is because in 1919, some shit went down in Russia, to put it lightly. Some Bolsheviks weren't really happy with what was going on and decided, you know, it's been a couple years, why don't we just do a communism? Lenin's here, Trotsky's here, it's cool. It's totally cool. And so when Russia turned into the USSR, the Socialist Party of America had a bit of a conundrum on their hands. Half the group were more than happy to be like, yeah, we don't support that. We're not Leninists. We're a bit more Marxist. There's subtle differences. Do you have time to discuss it? Maybe 3 hours? Where are you going?
Why are you walking away?
And the other half of the party was just like, fuck yeah, let's do that. Let's do the communism.
Revolution is now. Did you get the memo? The memo was USSR.
The red's not just the flag, it's also a lot of old rulers. Yeah, so October Revolution happens, Socialist Party of America splits once again, splitting between the Socialist Party and the brand new Communist Party of America. Now today it's pretty easy to kind of joke about the Communist Party being a threat to America. I know when I grew up, I was always listening to older boomer folks talking about how scary the USSR was, and just because I didn't grow up during a time in which nuclear war was a thing I was constantly worrying about, it seemed silly as fuck. Yeah. Because, I mean, their premier is a guy with a weird thing on his head, and they seem kind of okay. There's a lot of parody songs about them. I'm sure we're fine. But especially knowing the amount of paranoia and fear, scare the color red, if you will. It seems like the Communist Party of America would be something you would join if you were just wanting a shortcut to prison. But weirdly enough, the communists actually won a few elections in America shortly after they were created. And it wouldn't be in New York City or Chicago or even a super liberal college town. During the 1920s, the default capital of American communism would exist in a county that went to Donald Trump by 69%. And this would be Sheridan County, Montana.
Montana?
Montana.
I just assumed it would be in Minnesota, maybe Wisconsin.
Sort of adjacent, but yeah, weirdly enough, 100% Montana.
Wow.
So first and foremost, we kind of need to talk about why people even ended up in this barren section of Montana in the first place.
Big sky, big red.
Oh my God. So I want you to imagine a map of Montana, or just pulling up on Google Images. I mean, that's probably easier for everyone else right now. But the top north and east corner, that is Sheridan County. It is exactly that little corner.
Wow.
So, way out of the way of anything, of all the major cities in Montana. Most of them are on the western side of the state. And on the eastern side, it's pretty much plains and steppes and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, a couple like gold rushy towns that made good.
They did great for like 15 years, and now there's like foundations where homes used to be.
Or it's like buildings where the history was like a saloon for every person. And now it's like, no, we're a real city, we promise.
We're different now. Please come. We have pottery.
Look at our old buildings.
And so trying to figure out how the fuck people even decided to come here, we have to look at, a group of people who are pretty much the cause of all bad things in the Old West, railroad companies.
Oh.
So the Great Northern Railway, at its peak, ran from Chicago, Illinois, as far west as Ilwaco, Washington, which is a tiny little port town on the Pacific Ocean. The railway had a strong presence in Montana, and as the state grew, the railroad kept up by building railroad branches connecting new towns to the main line. And in the process, the railroad began creating their own small towns in between the pre-existing connections. Because if you're going out to another city, you kind of need to make it worth your while. And if you make a bunch of small towns that are doing good financially, then you can continue to support the railway in better ways. And one of these towns would be called Plentywood. Now, this is a really intense legend, Una. So the town of Plentywood, apparently there are some people who had just shown up. They were checking out their land, but they couldn't find any wood to start a campfire. They're having a rough time. And this stranger comes by. He might have been a bandit. It kind of varies. He says, oh, there's plenty of wood over there. And then they said, fuck it. That's our town. Hey, there's wood. This is a good day.
No.
Plentywood, Montana.
Oh, God.
Do you have a better name, Una?
Do you ever notice how like you grow up with like these tall Americana tales and then you rehear them as adults and it's like, this really isn't even that good of a story.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like fairy tale or Aesop kind of qualities, it's like, this is pretty average.
Yeah. I mean, I have what's the word I'm looking for? A nihilistic theory as to why it's called Plentywood.
Oh, no.
I imagine it was the railroad company was like, all right, this is a barren scrap of nothing. What should we call it to get people to come here? I don't know. Plentywood. That at least sounds like they'll have one thing covered.
So it reminds me of a story I remember. I think it was some like news puff piece back in the 90s, but the government was trying to get, I want to say like military servicemen to populate or remain on the Aleutian Islands that extend out from Alaska.
Yeah.
And they interviewed one guy who was like, yeah, I was told if I came here, it'd be a great job, good money. And like, there'd be a woman behind every tree basically. And you get there, he's like, there are no trees here, like at all. It's just flat grassland.
There's literally nowhere for women to hide.
I got duped.
Yeah, this is not great. Yeah, I think the American West is just full of those examples between the Gold West and the various other mining towns where it's like, oh, I'm gonna strike it rich. No, you're going to come here and kill yourself to death working in a mine. Yes, yeah. Someone else has already gotten rich and you will help them. Yep. Do you want to get drunk? We can help you get drunk.
Yeah, it's like a way more physical early MLM. You will not get rich. You will burn out trying.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so depressing. So Plentywood would officially be founded in 1900, with the promise of the railroad branch eventually making its way to the town. And sure, it took a whole decade for the trains to get out that way, but by God, they eventually did it. But you know what? If the railroad company was going to spend all that time building a train station, then there sure better be people in that fucking town. So the Great Northern Railway began placing ads attempting to tempt adventurous folks into moving out west. I should also mention a lot of this information comes from a book called The Red Corner by Verlaine Stoner MacDonald. Verlaine herself started writing this book after she discovered a lot of communist propaganda in her family's barn and started actually, yeah, because she had no clue that the town used to be a center for communism. And as she started digging into it, she's like, why the fuck have you guys been hiding this other than obvious reasons?
But it's cool now, so can we be cool?
Yeah, it's, oh my God. So I'm having a great time reading it. I would highly recommend it. And so according to her book, they would place ads, but another thing they used to do is they'd set up booths at county fairs to just be like, come out west, it's fucking great. You know, I mean, and I'm just trying to imagine that now. It'd sort of be like, you know, going to see a demolition derby and some weird dude is like, go to Mars, Elon wants you to.
Yeah, or that week in college where everyone's got a booth set up. It's just like, join the student org.
Yes. Oh my God. That was always my favorite week. I loved it. It was a great time.
All the pens you could ever want.
Oh my God. There was a whole 2 days I was part of the cricket club. Like I was going to learn cricket and then never did. I don't know. It's like baseball, something like that.
Sort of. Yeah.
It's like baseball with the solar system.
But longer. Yeah.
So this is how they're trying to get folks to come out to Plentywood. And Una, I would like to read an ad for you to see if you would actually like to come to Plentywood.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right. You ready? All right. We're going to do this.
Let me clear my mind of prior judgments.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. As far as you know, you're living in Chicago. Life's fine. You know, you've only lost 2 fingers in the factory. You've got your life ahead of you. You know what? You're going to strike it big out west, maybe. Who knows? It's a dream. And then you see this ad. Plentywood, new metropolis in the Northwest. The town is new. The country is new. Most of the people are new. So here are the things that Plentywood wants. A restaurant, laundry, flour mill, shoe shop, harness shop, drugstore, confectionery store, jewelry store, a bakery, a dentist, a cement block factory, a first-class hotel, an auto livery, an implement dealer, don't know what that means, a tailor, and a photographer. And I know that sounds like a lot of things that Plentywood doesn't have, but Una, here's what they do have. 2 general stores, 2 second-class hotels, if I understand the shade of the first column, 2 banks, 3 blacksmith shops, 4 lumber yards, 3 hardware stores, a livery barn, 2 meat markets, a newspaper, a U.S. commissioner, a millinery store, which is a fancy lady hat shop, 1 coal dealer, 1 feed mill, a barbershop, a doctor, and a whole lawyer.
Ooh.
I mean, it sounds like they have their shit together, at least in some ways.
In some ways, yeah. I'm headed out. I'm going to Plentywood.
Yeah, but they also add reasons why Plentywood can support these lines of business. Because it is the natural distributing point for more than 30 full townships of good Montana soil, caps lock. Oh, they've loved their caps lock back then. Because it is the terminus of the Bainville-Plentywood branch of the Great Northern Railroad and furnishes a gateway for a vast country west of Plentywood still practically unsettled by white people. Because the territory surrounding Plentywood is settled by people who are real farmers, they mean business, and expects to make their homesteads their permanent homes. And because Plentywood is ideally located where an abundant supply of water can be obtained at the depth of 40 feet. So I'm assuming they're meaning wells for this, because if you look at a map...
Yeah, no,
a lot of water.
It's gotta be a well.
Which, I mean, I hope they're talking the truth on this. I really do. So based on all of that, do you think you'd make your way to Plentywood?
I absolutely would, yeah. I'd go there, convince them to take the 2 second-class hotels, combine them into a first-class hotel.
You just make 2 hotels kiss, and that's how you get a first-class hotel?
Yes.
I love it. All right, we're going to Plentywood. This is going to be great. And yeah, I think I would have been duped in. I would have been duped into probably any town that was advertised by a railroad back then. I am, in the words of John Mulaney, dumb and easy to trick.
Honestly, though, I mean, in the same way as like the internet has always existed, it's making me realize how it's like, oh, this absolutely has like startup recruiter energy.
God.
Like, no. The like the next round of VC capital is on its way. Get in now.
Look, man, the train's coming. I promise you. But the thing is, when the train gets there, it's going to be too expensive. You got to get in before the train gets in.
We'll give you stonks.
Look, man, you want to start a fancy lady hat shop? You can't. You're too late. You got to fucking start the concrete block factory. It's the only way, man.
We need milliners now.
Oh, God damn it. So the vast majority of people who would end up moving to Sheridan County were Scandinavian Lutherans, immigrating from either their home countries or moving west from Wisconsin and Minnesota. However, many were greeted with farming land that was, what's the nice word? Shit. It was shit compared to what they were used to. Because Minnesota, Wisconsin, you can grow a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is very easy to grow there. Same with Scandinavia, unless you're like too far north, then it gets a little tricky. So when they got there, they ended up finding just a very inhospitable land. And here's everything that was wrong with it, Una.
Oh, no.
First of all, they had to deal with a lot of bugs that are mostly known for eating the fuck out of anything you grow, such as grasshoppers and armyworms, which I know more formally as tomato bugs. They're like giant green caterpillars, essentially. And also, there are 3 types of just really shitty weeds. The first is leafy spurge, which can grow between 2 to 4 feet tall and has a sap that is poisonous to both cattle and humans.
Oh, no.
So that was the other thing that people were doing out there, is like, well, I can't grow anything, so I should probably have cattle. Why are all my cows dying?
Oh, no.
There's also field bindweed, which is nearly impossible to remove and grows so thick that it can easily fuck up an entire crop by either choking it out or just growing through what you're growing. And finally, there's Canadian thistle that also chokes out native wildlife and crops and is also near impossible to completely remove. So congratulations, here's your land. It's near free. Nothing can grow here ever unless you're willing to kill yourself. And the thing is, also the weather wasn't exactly super cooperative. So the region suffered multiple weather events that devastated the farms and the ranchers who lived there. Most notably was a blizzard in 1906. Now this blizzard in particular caused a huge issue with cattle. So something I didn't know is that when cows are in a blizzard situation, they will walk in the direction that the wind is going to try to keep warm. And so this one dude's cattle walked all the way to the middle of North Dakota during this blizzard.
Poor cows.
Yeah, I mean, at least they lived, but yeah, they just kept going just because this blizzard was so goddamn intense.
Ooh.
Also, there were hailstorms, unpredictable rain, prairie fires, which are tiny little mass fires that are started by either lightning or passing trains run by the same company that duped you into coming out here.
To this hellscape.
Yeah, and also windstorms, so, you know, plenty of things that are good for growing, I don't know, corn.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Badlands, but it is close. And like, I mean, it's called the Badlands, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. And to make things worse, wheat was the main thing that people would grow there, and it was worth barely fucking anything. It was like 65 cents a bushel is what it was going for at the time, when in years prior it was around like $1.52.
$1.50 in 1890 money?
Yeah, but also we have this. Since Sheridan County is right on the Canadian border, it became a hotbed for horse thievery and cattle rustling. Because
nice.
Essentially all you have to do is find a fuck ton of cows, lead them across the international border, and no one can touch you.
Yes.
And so people would just dip into Montana, steal a bunch of shit, fucking dip out, and you are fresh out of fucking luck.
Steven.
So yeah, so the land hates you. The people buying your stuff hates you. The weather hates you. The fucking criminals love you. They're having a great time. They would love more of you to show up. And if that's not fun enough, the moment that the Great Northern decided to actually fulfill their promise and build the railroad into Plentywood, the town flooded with 500 railroad workers who all seemed to be the kind of drunk that was equal parts horny and stabby. So to accommodate this, the bars in town were left open 24/7.
Oh, hell yeah.
I know. Well, what good thing has to happen? And to accommodate these now drunk railroad workers, 4 brothels were opened and did their absolute level best to make sure everyone got fucked for a good price.
This is well before penicillin.
Oh yeah, but this is also the first good thing that happened to Plentywood, because the thing was, all of these sex workers got all of the railroad money, and they spent all of that money in town. And so if not for the sex workers, the economy of Plentywood would have just been fucking dead.
Legalize sex work, people.
Well, and as an example, there was a style shop in town after the brothels had opened, and it was reported that a number of women would think nothing of buying a $200 dress, which nowadays is about $6,000.
I'm here for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense why the fancy lady hat shop was there now, looking back. Because look, you gotta promote your business. You got.
Listen, we got dollars and they need to go back into this economy.
But despite how hard living there was, people still traveled to take their chances. And by 1910, nearly 14,000 homesteaders had made it to the northeast tip of Montana and made it their home. So now we got the people. Next, we need to have a whole societal reason for why communism would actually sound good to a bunch of farmers. And for Sheridan County in particular, a lot of what would lead to this rise in actual fucking Marxism was what is called the farmer agrarian myth. So the basic gist of this is that city folk have an idea of what farmers are like. They're hardworking, they're honest, and they're independent. They don't need anyone else to help them. So it kind of creates this image of, you picture a farmer, he wakes up in the morning, has a decent breakfast, hugs his family, goes to the fields, works until sundown, comes home, has a decent dinner, enjoys time with his family, and goes to bed proud of the work that he's done. When in actuality, what it probably was more like was you wake up in the morning, quietly panic while working your ass off, and then you go to bed once exhaustion becomes greater than the anxiety you're feeling.
And your kids are absolutely working with you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and anyone who can walk is helping in some regard.
Yeah, if you're doing well, you probably have like a couple people with some shacks you've lent out on the other side of your acreage who are also helping out to work off those shacks.
Yeah, but the problem with this particular myth is that it creates the idea idea that farmers don't have problems. That since farmers are independent, they clearly aren't being taken advantage by anyone. They're
what is weather? That's not
exactly. Or like, what are these people who are underpaying them for the hard work that they do? Clearly, farmers are doing perfectly fine, and there's no reason for us to care. And so this is during a time in which a lot of farmers' rights start to become a major issue in America. So specifically in Montana, while the soil is really good out east and you can grow a whole range of crops, once you get further west of the Mississippi, things get a bit more tough. You can grow wheat and you can grow corn, but you need better equipment to farm it, so it costs more to make it than it would if you stayed east of the Mississippi. However, the land that you would need to farm it ended up being relatively free, thanks to the Homestead Act of 1862 and the Desert Land Act of 1877. You would get this land for free, but you had to make use of it. And with better equipment, farming became easier and more could be made. But it's still difficult if your starting bed is difficult farming. So while out east people are making more and more crops, quality's raising, they're getting it done faster, you're still behind compared to them, and you're still never going to make as much as farmers do out east. But the problem is too that as farming started to become less about subsistence and more about working for a profit, there started to become too many farms out west, and the amount being made outpaced demand, meaning that the price of crops declined by about 50% by 1895. But thanks to the farmer myth, people in the cities just assumed everything was all fine and dandy in the rural communities and never even attempted to fix this disparity. So in 1867, the National Grange was created to lobby on behalf of farmers, but also as a way for farmers to work together and educate their communities. They were also really big on social interactions, and this is where the trope of barn dances and town potlucks came into being.
Oh my goodness. Aww.
Yeah, the Grange is kind of amazing. The more I was reading about them, the more I'm bummed out that they're not a bigger thing nowadays. So the Grange supported education of men and women and allowed both sexes to take up leadership positions in the organization. And best of all, the Grange was super big into respecting people's time, because if you're going to make your way to fucking town, you better be starting on fucking time. So every meeting was to start exactly on time and end right when they said it would, no matter what.
I also feel like this is like the culturally from, Scandinavian Lutherans. Like I think that also influenced it a little bit.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that.
These are not Southern Europeans.
So Grange meetings would typically involve lessons on farming techniques and how to more efficiently perform chores, but they also included music in between lessons to liven things up a bit. But most importantly, the Grange wanted to lift farmers up, to encourage them to not just accept their lot in life and to fight against any injustice that may affect their ability to not just live their lives, but the lives of others around them. Because as farmers, they weren't just making food for themselves. By this point, they were feeding an entire nation, and they deserved that respect of doing something that monumental. And with that responsibility comes not just the duty to create food and feed a nation, but also to do what is morally right and just at all times. Now, the Grange would have a few decades of success, culminating in the creation of the Greenback Party in 1874, because of course, if you succeed, you have to form a political party. But as the party died off in 1889, so did the influence of the Grange. But one of the largest and most radical ideas of the movement would persist: the idea that farmers are natural enemies to monopolies and the wealthy. And this is essentially where the idea of farmers against Wall Street became a dichotomy. The idea of Wall Street versus Main Street.
Oh.
So now we have an entire population that is a lot further left than you would expect. They are against monopolies. They're against capitalism in a lot of ways, because now they're viewing capitalism as the system that has forced them into the lives that they are currently living. That all of them know they're working as hard as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And if it was a fair system, they would be thriving.
They would be okay. Yeah.
Exactly. But since that's not the case, and they've been able to look into things and realize, oh, this is what's holding us back, they've now become primed for socialism and more primed for the idea of like, hey, let's fix some shit, please.
It is fascinating that you point out how the minute it moves from the method of feeding your singular unit of family regularly to a means of production, like recognizing suddenly that you are alienated from yourself and that work, and then the reaction to that is like, oh, okay, actually now I start to understand why all the Marxist literature really took off.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's also why I miss the idea of the Grange so much, because it's not like these things have changed. They've just gotten, capitalism has found a way to really fuck over farmers in a more efficient manner.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, in between like Monsanto trademarking multiple seeds, that if one of their seeds ends up on your property and you didn't buy their seeds, then they can sue you for stealing their property. Or the idea of corporate-owned farms buying out generational family farms and things of that sort, of them being able to work at a lesser margin and undercut other family farms, so then those run out of business and then they can buy those up.
Right, that the only way to succeed is to become too big to fail in a way.
100%. And yeah, it's really devastating. And it does make me understand why so many farmers are angry and furious at the system. It's just also very misguided that capitalism will be the thing to save them, because capitalism is the thing that is actively killing them right now.
Yeah.
Oof. This has been my farming rant. So yeah, and so now you definitely have a group of farmers who are ready for something. And at this time, you have the Socialist Labor Party, you have the Socialist Party, and none of them took advantage of this.
God damn it!
They would actually end up getting scooped up by a group that we've talked about before, when we talked about the very first recall that ever occurred of a governor, the Nonpartisan League.
Oh, God.
So the Nonpartisan League was founded in 1915 by Arthur C. Townley, a 35-year-old flax farmer and former Socialist Party member. Once again, a person has split from the Socialist Party and created their own party.
You're like mitosis, but so much angrier.
You know, if mitosis always ended with, no, fuck you.
No, you're wrong.
I'm taking my books and fuck you. So in 1914, Arthur had attempted to run for the North Dakota state legislature, but after losing, he left the Socialist Party to found his own group and made it up entirely of farmers. So Arthur planned on gaining the support by fighting against railroad, milling, and storage companies, and calling for state ownership of grain elevators, flour mills, and packing and storage plants. Arthur would also move inspection of grain to the responsibility of the state, create a state-run bank which would operate at cost, and offer hail insurance. So
That's
something
nice.
But the big difference between the Socialist Party and the Nonpartisan League is that Arthur decided that he wouldn't incorporate as a third party, that at this point it had just become too difficult, and he would end up probably having to run against the Socialist Party anyway. So instead, he sought to become a sect within a party that already existed, the Republicans. Now, one of the big advantages that Arthur had in getting farmers on his side was that he was just loaded with charisma. Plus, he was very well spoken and was noted to not speak at all like a politician, mainly because he swore constantly, spoke plainly, and was known to have a very dry sense of humor that went over very well with farmers.
I love it. Know your audience.
Oh, 100%. Like, I don't know how you tell a dry joke while swearing, but I want to hear it.
Yep.
I would buy that album. But Arthur also had a side of him that was shady as fuck. You see, he knew just getting folks to join an organization wouldn't be enough. He'd seen in the past how quickly people jumped from the greenbacks to the populist parties, and then no matter what, things began to fall apart. So Arthur decided that people who joined the Nonpartisan League would have to pay dues of $2.50 a year, or $66 in today's money. And while that money would help with campaigns, the real reason for it was to create a subconscious sunk cost fallacy. Or as Arthur said, and this is a direct quote, "Make the rubes pay their goddamn money to join and they'll stick till hell freezes over."
Oh my God. Good thing there wasn't such a thing as hot mics back then.
Oh my God, this dude's YouTube would have been fucking great. It would have been ratioed into the goddamn ground.
I'm thinking of the Simpsons episode with Gabbo.
Gabbo made a new political party. Watch out. Everything's off the record.
Everyone who watches this is an SOB.
But the thing is, he's kind of not wrong. Just because people do tend to jump ship when a party is showing the slightest chance of falling and failing. And it happened with the Greenbacks, it happened with the Populists, happened with the Socialist Labor Party. It would eventually happen to the Socialist Party. So,
no, I think the shock is more this, like, it's so cynically real. Like, yeah. And how did no one else think of it before then?
I also love that Arthur is just like, I'm a socialist. What's the one capitalist thing I can use to my advantage?
Cold, hard cash. Buy in, motherfuckers.
None of these rubes want to be wrong. Fucking pay $66 a year to me, you fucks. So as the party grew, recruiting became the main focus, and all recruiters were given instruction on persuasion and how to gain and hold someone's interest. And while $2.50 was a ton of cash to dole out to a new party, farmers in the state viewed it as a worthwhile investment. There really wasn't a farmers union or a large-scale lobbying group like the Grange around like in the past, so for them this was more of a chance to unite together and fight, at least at the state level. Not so much a political MLM in a number of ways.
Yeah, a lot of MLM vibes this episode.
And by the 1916 election, the Nonpartisan League elected Lynn Fraser to be their new governor of North Dakota. In 1917, they elected their first U.S. congressman. And by 1918, the League controlled the State House and the Senate of North Dakota. And as we know, they used this to parlay to create the only state-run bank in America. There's still a state-run grain elevator in the state. There's a lot of legacies behind this party, despite the fact that Lynn Fraser would eventually be recalled and replaced. But that fall hadn't happened yet. And things are going so well in North Dakota, fuck it, it's time to expand. And they started expanding into the neighboring states of Minnesota and Montana.
In MLM talk, this is called your downline.
Guys, I got a lot of good leads on Minnesota, Montana, all the great markets, but I'm going to keep the good leads to myself. What
you get 50 cents, then I get $2.50 there.
Hardtack is for closers. God damn it. Anyway, so they're expanding, and the League would open a state office in Great Falls, Montana in 1916. By 1918, the western portion of the state was actually beginning to go their way with a membership of 20,000 people. Now, instead of going after farmers, they went after more so coal miners who didn't have a lot of representation in the state government. So it was a bit of a shift of policy, but it ended up translating pretty well.
Nice.
And it would also be that year that the league would send their first representative to Sheridan County, a 34-year-old fellow by the name of Charles E. Taylor. Now, Charles was born in Dodge County, Wisconsin, to a family of 12 in 1884. His grandfathers had been abolitionists and original Republicans. They'd also read Horace Greeley's New York Tribune, and it was here that the two men first discovered the writings of Karl Marx. His father, Carlos, was a contrary asshole that had trouble keeping friends thanks to his consistent sarcasm, and he also worked for the Farmers Alliance and became a very early member of the People's Party. Eventually, the family would move to Lake Minnetonka, Minnesota, and Charles would attend school, but was more interested in performing in school plays and debating politics with any other adult or preteen who would listen. 12-year-old shit. And at the age of 12, he was a fervent supporter of William Jennings Bryan. And when Bryan lost the presidency, he stated, quote, "I thought the country was ruined.
You're 12.
The country's gonna die and I want a Snickers." So like other children, Charles worked on his family farm, but by the age of 14, he had been brought on for full-time work at the local newspaper, the Aitken Age. And by full-time, I meant he worked 12-hour days. He would end up dropping out of school around this time because how do you find the time to go to school when you're working 12 hours at a fucking newspaper?
Yeah, school don't pay. Let's do this.
It does not. School does not pay. But that wouldn't stop him from qualifying to be a teacher at the age of 17.
Oh, what a world.
At the age of 19, he would be accepted into Hamline University in St. Paul, but would drop out after 2 years to get married, move to Oregon, move back to Minnesota, have a kid, work as a salesman, and then get divorced. That happened in 2 years.
Oh my God.
And so, of course, after moving to Oregon, moving back to Minnesota, having a kid, working as a salesman, getting divorced, and then losing said wife and kid, Charles was left alone and suffered an incredibly deep depression. So with nothing really left to lose, he moved to Big Falls, Minnesota, and made a homestead of his own. Supposedly, Charles also found time to get his law degree via correspondence at this time, and was elected as a judge in Koochiching County, all within a year.
What?
Yeah.
He basically went to University of Phoenix of its time.
Yes. He went to the Sears catalog, wrote law degree, and became a judge.
A judge, not a lawyer.
1 year. He did all of his schooling and then became a judge in 1 year. What a fucking time. At the age of, I assume, to be 22. But of course, nothing can stay good for Charles. And in 1909, he would catch tuberculosis. He would be advised to move to a drier climate for his health, and he chose to move in with his family in Buffalo, Wyoming. But little did his family know that Charles had caught an even worse disease. Socialism.
God damn it.
He would end up campaigning on behalf of Eugene Debs and found very, very few people in the area who were willing to listen to him, let alone agreed with his fervor. But he found work at a newspaper and stuck it out for about a year. You see, Charles' health had improved after that year, and he moved back to Minnesota, where he would start his first socialist paper called The Port of Call. And as if this dude's life wasn't busy enough, he also ran as a socialist for state legislature, where he'd come 4th out of 5. But all of that work caused his tuberculosis to resume, and once again, he moved back to Wyoming. It's hard enough to move now.
Yeah.
Within a 2-year period, could you imagine moving from Minnesota to Wyoming to Minnesota to Wyoming?
Half that time is spent on the road.
I mean, I'm assuming there's trains at this time, but even still.
Also, I just want to point it out that, I catch a lot of flack for my erratic CV.
Yep.
Nowhere near where this guy is.
So you were a judge for, am I reading this right, a month and a half?
A month, yeah. And then you left for health reasons.
I mean, understandable. Okay.
But then tried to become like a member of the legislative body.
Oh no, that was after I moved back. Before that, I moved in with my family and I farmed and also worked at a newspaper and also campaigned for Eugene Debs. And it cured my tuberculosis for a little bit. So I moved back home and then I ran for state legislature and then I got sick again. Look, I can write it out in chapter form if that's easier. My CV, I get it. It's 5 pages long and it covers 3 years. But
I'm just saying, I'm going to feel less bad about, my own little boomerang section.
Oh, 100%. So he moves back to Wyoming, but this time he would stay for a whole 5 years. And while he was there, he taught, he worked at whatever newspapers would have him. And in 1915, he moved back to Minnesota to help work on his brother's farm and teach at a local school. And he'd have a normal life for about 2 years. And in 1917, he would get married to Agda Lundgren. His brother would enter the army to fight in World War I. He sold the farm, and Charles moved with his new wife to Minneapolis. So, of course, the moment he got to Minneapolis, Charles walked straight up to the nonpartisan league offices, introduced himself, and asked for whatever job they might have for him.
Boomers.
To which they said, well, we do need a newspaper in the middle of nowhere, Montana. Do you mind moving? To which I imagine he just smiled, a jump cut happened, suddenly he's standing in front of an office for his new newspaper.
And the wife is holding a baby to show the passage of time.
I had it on the train.
Yeah.
Oh, which luggage is ours? It's the one that has multiple Wyoming and Minnesota stickers on it. So upon arriving in Plentywood, Charles would start the nonpartisan league newspaper that he called the Producers News. And really, in regards to prairie towns, Plentywood was doing all right. Since the Great Northern placed their ad and finished building the railroad, the town had calmed down quite a bit. There were now 4 banks, a movie theater, a bunch of hotels and restaurants and shops. They'd even put in a sewer system and just finished a brand new brick schoolhouse. They had an amateur baseball team and 3 remaining brothels that were still doing very well. But Charles, well, once he arrived in town, he called it, quote, a godforsaken little hole.
Jesus.
But orders are orders, and Charles set up his party newspaper. He got himself a new printing press and then quickly went through 2 typesetters. One was fired for generally being bad at the job, but the other stayed on, but was, quote, pretty good when he was sober.
Oh, amazing.
But lucky for Charles, he wouldn't be left alone with a mostly drunk typesetter for long. He would be joined by 5 of the foremost socialists that the county had to offer. A Danish mason by the name of Hans Rasmussen, a former Northwestern University football team captain turned bank teller Arthur Ruber, farmer Claire Stoner, homesteader John Bolds, and finally, there's just a real crackerjack motherfucker by the name of Rodney Salisbury. So Rodney was born in 1888 in Wisconsin. No one really knows where, but he would grow up in Brinsmead, North Dakota. Now Rodney stayed in school until about the 4th grade, and after that he'd drop out to work on his family farm. However, he also made a little extra cash as a traveling performer, doing little dances for dimes and performing a comedy act with his grandfather. So the bit is actually listed. How it goes is Rodney's grandpa would walk up to an outhouse and he'd start pounding on the door and start hollering that his grandson was stuck inside and he couldn't get him out. So of course, a crowd would start to form and people would try to help him get the door open, and his grandfather would figure out a way to keep the door closed. And when a large enough crowd had appeared, Rodney's grandpa would step aside, the door would burst open, and Rodney would hop out, like, I'm just imagining a 10-year-old hops out, does a little jig, and people throw dimes at him.
Oh my God.
It sounds kind of like a hoot. I don't know what they would do beyond that, or if that was enough to be able to make money back then as a comedy routine.
Wow.
That's, I'm sure it was hilarious. So when Rodney came of age, he would marry Emma Ryan, also of Brinsmead, and the two would be seduced by the potential wonder of Montana. The two would settle in the town of Raymond and get to work farming and fucking until they had 6 kids. And at that point, Emma flat out refused to have any more kids and became a proponent for birth control.
Good for her.
So upon meeting Charles, Rodney and he became very close friends, but he couldn't quite get over some of Rodney's more extreme ideals. He loved that Rodney went into every task for the party with all the fervor that he had, but he didn't like that the same fervor often meant that Rodney would bend or break the law just to get the job done. Then again, Rodney's own daughter would note that, quote, he believed that the laws are an instrument of economic repression of the working classes, end quote.
I just want like an Ocean's 11 style movie of this group of characters.
Oh my God. Yes. Like Danny McBride would probably be Rodney. I mean, it's typecasting, but okay.
Both have that vaudevillian energy about them.
Oh yeah, just like, fuck you, I'm getting this done. I'm a good employee for the party, comrade. So either way, Charles Taylor and his crew were more than ready to make the Nonpartisan League a force in Sheridan County politics. And the party would make its first big splash on June 26, 1918. You see, the League had secured 280 acres surrounding Brush Lake to be the site of the county's first party picnic. The Producers News had been advertising it for weeks, noting it was going to be a day of swimming, boating, baseball, races, and, quote, the very best music that can be secured.
Yeah, wow, that contingent on the performer.
Look,
not our fault.
We have sent out emails. We're waiting to see who shows. It might be the guy who stands in the middle of town popping out of latrines and then doing a little dance.
So be it. You'll like it, okay?
Look, do some swimming, play some baseball. It's a new weird sport technically still. But also there was going to be free barbecue, baked beans, all the beverages you could want. And to top it off, there would even be a freaking celebrity showing up. The first ever woman elected to Congress, Jeanette Rankin.
Hey!
I mean, she didn't show, but...
Oh.
It wasn't so much that they lied about the booking. She actually ended up getting stuck on the way out there, so she legitimately couldn't make it. She eventually made up for it by doing a speech later in the year. So when I read that, I was like, you lying motherfucker. Just like, come see the weird and bizarre female congressman.
And she, TBD.
Yeah, oh my God. And in her stead will now be Jimmy with spoons. Play the spoons, Jimmy. But yeah, all in all, 6,000 people showed up, and from what it seems, everyone had a really goddamn good time. So Charles would take this boost and grow the Producers News into the biggest paper in the county. His paper was a bit of a mix of local and world news, but Charles's biggest weapon was his opinion section, which he would use to espouse the League's agenda, but do so in a sort of entertaining way that farmers in the area found relatable. However, Charles would also use the opinion section to push something even greater than the party, himself. Initially, when he arrived at town, another newspaper editor by the name of Burley Bowler, real name, was the editor of a newspaper called the Antelope Independent. And Burley believed that he was the socialist voice in that part of the state. So when Charles showed up and said, hey, I'm here for the Nonpartisan League, I'm starting a paper for them, Burley immediately called bullshit and said he was a fraud and a liar. And he would eventually back down when the Nonpartisan League was like, no, we sent him out here, dude. It's totally fine. But during the entire tenure, during the Producers News and the Antelope Independent, the two would be bitter rivals, during which time Charles would just dunk on Burley for being like, your name's Burley and you're a large man, huzzah!
Oh, geez. Very typical of the party, I'm assuming. You put two socialists together, one that's going to assume the other is not a socialist.
It's like a pair of beta fish or cats.
Yes! Yes!
So another tactic of Charles was to portray anyone who wasn't a farmer or a direct ally of his as someone who was beholden not just to local banks, but to Wall Street its fucking self. In one campaign in particular, he would refer to the Nonpartisan League candidate as Farmer Sloan and his competitor as Banker Lewis, even though like dude wasn't a banker, but he wasn't a farmer, so clearly the man's a banker. But he also very heavily pushed the idea that Wall Street themselves were the people keeping farmers down, and that it was these financial interests that were destroying the lives of farmers. So I'm not going to say he invented that trope of the humble farmer versus the wealthy, pretentious metro elite, but he made that message extremely popular in Northeast Montana.
You may even say he sowed the seeds.
I'm done. I'm closing this. I'm done. I'm leaving this party, Una. I'm starting my own separate podcast. And so as it turns out, this blend of self-victimization, creating a wedge between farmers and all others, and using a plain-speaking comedic tone was more than enough to make the Producers News the most read newspaper within the county by 1918. Just in time for that year's elections, don't you know? And Charles would, of course, push the candidacy of a new slate of Nonpartisan League nominees in Sheridan County. And in turn, all but two would end up winning their respective races, suddenly giving control of the county to a relatively new socialist movement. So by all rights, this election seemed to show that the Nonpartisan League was about to become a multi-state organization. With Charles Taylor at the helm, it was entirely possible that Montana could become the next state to have an NPL governor and state legislature. And they very well might have, if it wasn't for one key detail. In 1920, Charles would bring together his group of local supporters and hold a clandestine meeting. In a later interview, Charles would admit that this meeting was a culmination of all their plans from the moment that he got to town. That if he could build a network of support from the community via the NPL and the Producers News, then he could essentially guide the region politically however he wished. And now that the iron was hot, the group chose to make their big move. In secret, they formed the Sheridan County chapter of the Communist Party. So the group in Sheridan County had always been more left than the Nonpartisan League, but the Nonpartisan League just kind of assumed, you know what, this is totally fine. You can, what's a bit of different thinking within our party? We're doing good. You guys
it's not like we're communists.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, you guys are doing great. Appreciate the work. Be sure to like and subscribe. And secretly, they were just like, the second we can do this, we are ditching the Nonpartisan League. We are kicking them the fuck out of this county, and we are going to make the Communist Party the Socialist Party, which is kind of wrong. We're going to make the Communist Party the far left thinking party in this area.
They're like the alien and Alien.
Look, this is why socialists split up so much. The second you start trusting other people with differing views, they're going to pull this shit. So the thing, though, is the country had recently passed the Sedition Act of 1918, which was a bill that designed to punish anyone who criticized the American government while the country was fighting in World War I, which is, a scary fucking law to pass.
It's not great.
It's a bad sign, but primarily the law was used to go after anarchists, communists, and socialists, most notably socialist presidential nominee Eugene Debs. But when the war ended in 1919, the act ended as well. But that didn't stop Attorney General A. Mitchell Palmer from fighting to extend the act into peacetime as well. Now, the new act would never be passed, but under that particular cloud, it was best for Taylor and his friends to maybe keep their Communist Party secret as possible. Maybe make it more like a private club, and just wait until the NPAL was at their weakest, and then emerge when the coast was clear. But it also didn't help that there was the beginning of a bit of a crowded field for left-wing farmer parties. The Farmer Labor Party had just been founded in Minnesota in 1918, and while the party would go on to great success within the state, and still exists today as the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, it was beginning to grow into other communities when they ran their first presidential nominee in 1920, and their nominee would get 7% support in Montana. And most notably in Sheridan County, the Farmer Labor nominee got 23% of the vote. So while the NPL might be dying, there's already another group that is taking things over, and if you don't play your cards right, we'll take your supporters.
Like the wildflowers growing up after a prairie fire.
But by 1922, the NPL had a firm hold on Sheridan County, and this was the moment that the secret communists would make their big move. The NPL put forth their slate of candidates that once again swept the various races throughout the county, and would even see a few new members of the state legislature. But the biggest names on the ballot would be Hans Rasmussen for county surveyor, Charles Taylor for state senator, and Rodney Salisbury for county sheriff. The man who says that laws are in place to keep down the means of production or some shit like that.
Yes.
That man's sheriff now.
Yeah. This fucking A-team. Yeah.
And after all three of them won, it was pretty much a guarantee that their secret little communist league had taken over Sheridan County, Montana. And it was at this point they announced who they were, kicked out the NPL, and were welcomed in Sheridan County as their communist rulers.
Oh my God, like a fucking coup.
And you know what, Una? We're going to talk about what the fuck happened next time. Because, spoiler alert, didn't go great.
Oh no.
It's a weird thing. It's one of those things where it's one of my big gripes with communism is it's one of those ideals that on paper, yeah, that could work, but it completely ignores human nature and tends to always have a vacuum for, I don't know, assholes.
Yeah.
So this is definitely one of those examples where some less than ideal people have now kind of taken control of a county, and I'm sure it's going to go well.
Oh boy.
But yeah, thoughts, reactions, anything on this so far?
This makes me want to. I can't remember quite what the name of the book was, but it was one of the books I read in like 9th grade English class. And I think it took place during the 20s and 30s about a young Jewish boy whose parents are like affiliated with the Communist Party and then maybe go and fight against Franco.
Oh, shit.
It's one of those books where it's like, why are we? It was an odd choice is what I remember, but mostly because I was a snob and one who's like, why are we not reading great literature?
Oh my God.
But yeah, I want to reread it for this. I'm just loving this tiny little shit stained corner of their words, sort of.
Yeah, Charles's
Not
words.
mine.
Yeah. The leader of your county, a region of the world that he clearly hates, has now taken over your land.
And they fucking made a coup.
Yeah. It's so fucking surreal that he ends up getting to have a coup because he boomered his way into a Like, I've worked at newspapers. Don't ask for how long for each one. I could start one for you. Just get me a drunk and a printing press, and I will make it in 2 years the most read newspaper in the county.
Yeah, but I also just love that it's like we could have had a vibrant socialist third party, but y'all are playing.
It is so frustrating, especially when you look at the most conservative places in America and where Trumpism is thriving. Those are places where socialism was booming in the 1920s, where so many ideas that could have helped so many people in the long run and helped people at the time, like the 8-hour workday, like paying people in money instead of company cash, like maybe not enslaving your employees or throwing them into mines where they're gonna die.
Yeah.
Giving people basic fucking dignity.
Ah,
Yeah, it's really wild. And it does make me wonder, like in a parallel universe, what would have happened if, we had a thriving socialist party? Would it have gone more left? Would it have gone more right? Would it have suffered the same issues as other parties of socialism at the time? It's an alternate dimension I really wish I could find and study.
it's also like I also love as well. It's like there's like a terroir effect to the socialism here versus like the socialist and social democratic parties in Europe. Of just like the fact that you had to pay $2.50 to essentially buy in. It's just like like capitalism is fucking in the earth. Like it is. You're planting the seed in capitalist dirt.
Yep.
Like sure, try like it'll be a Pinot Noir, but it's not going to be the Pinot Noir that you originally harvested these from. It's
exactly, yeah. It's going to be a bit different.
Noir.
Like, I'm just imagining if it had continued on, there'd be Gadsden flags that say "Don't tread on my means of production." Oh man, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but yeah, I'm very excited to talk about what the fuck happened because it's some buck wild shit. But yeah, everyone, thank y'all for joining us on this back in time edition of Gadfly. It's nice to be doing these again.
Yeah.
And join us next week for part 2 of the Communists of Montana here on Gadfly. Means of production. For 250. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?